Welcome to Cupid's Logic, where love meets predictive intelligence. We decode attraction, conflict, attachment, and compatibility, so you can know if it will last before you commit.
We talked about this. This was the plan. I know, but I am not the same person I was when we made it. One person hears betrayal, the other feels trapped. And suddenly, a job offer, a family responsibility, or a change in direction feels like a verdict on the entire relationship. The question is no longer just, do we love each other? It becomes, can we change together without one of us disappearing?
Welcome to Cupid's Logic. I am your host, Craig Pruitt, and today we are diving into the adaptability forecast. Not whether your relationship will ever face change. It will. Every long-term relationship does. We are asking what happens when the map you built together no longer matches the road in front of you. Are you ready for the truth? Love can be sincere, commitment can be real, and a couple can still struggle if they do not know how to revise the plan without revising the meaning of the relationship.
Picture Maya and Jordan. They have been together for 4 years. Early on, they agreed they would stay near their families. That promise mattered to Jordan, who grew up watching relatives step in when life became difficult. Maya agreed because at the time she wanted stability too. Then Maya receives an offer for a leadership role in another state. It would change her income, her confidence, and the kind of work she could do. The offer comes with a 6-week deadline.
Jordan says, "We already decided this. You cannot bring a new life into the relationship and expect me to act as if nothing changed." Maya says, "I am not asking you to act as if nothing changed. I am asking whether the promise was about one location or whether it was about taking care of each other. That is a very different conversation. But if they skip it, Jordan may feel that Maya is abandoning the agreement, while Maya may feel that Jordan is asking her to abandon a part of herself."
This is adaptability mismatch. It is not ordinary disagreement. Ordinary disagreement asks, which option do we choose? Adaptability mismatch asks, are we even allowed to reconsider? One partner treats the original plan as a permanent contract. The other treats it as a sincere plan made by two people who are allowed to grow. Both positions can sound reasonable. The risk appears when one person needs every detail preserved, and the other treats every commitment as temporary.
A relationship does not prove its strength by refusing to move. It proves its strength by knowing what cannot be lost while everything else is being reconsidered. That distinction matters because flexibility is not the same as surrender. Healthy adaptation is mutual. Both people understand the change, name the costs, and participate in the trade-offs. Nobody is quietly paying the entire emotional bill while the other person calls the issue resolved. Maya would be self-abandoning if she accepted the move while knowing she would become isolated, lose all control over her work, and be unable to speak honestly about the cost. Jordan would also be self-abandoning if Jordan agreed to move while suppressing a deeply held caregiving responsibility and then pretended everything was fine. A compromise that requires one person to erase a core value is not automatically mature. Sometimes it is simply fear wearing a polite face.
And here is an important challenge. What if one partner calls every boundary rigidity? What if flexibility always means your career, your friendships, your body, your values, or your needs have to bend? Then the issue may not be adaptability. It may be power. Mutual change requires explicit consent. It cannot be extracted through guilt, pressure, punishment, or the threat that the relationship will disappear unless one person complies. If there is coercion or a safety concern, this is not a communication exercise. Specialized support may be needed.
Personality can influence the forecast, but personality is not a sentence. A highly conscientious person may bring reliability, planning, and follow-through. Under stress, that same strength can become an insistence that the plan must never change. Someone higher in openness may see a new city as possibility. A more security-oriented partner may see it as risk. Neither person is automatically right or wrong.
The useful question is whether they can recognize the tendency before it starts driving the conversation. Attachment patterns can intensify the moment. A person with anxious tendencies may hear a changed plan and think, "This means I am losing you." They reach for reassurance, certainty, and an immediate answer. A person with avoidant tendencies may hear that urgency and think, "I am being cornered." They pull back. The more one pursues, the more the other distances. Then each reaction appears to confirm the original fear. These are patterns to notice, not diagnoses to throw at each other. So instead of saying, "You are impossible," or "You are avoidant," try asking, "When this plan changes, what are you afraid will happen next?" Jordan might say, "I am afraid that moving means my family will always come last." Maya might say, "I am afraid that staying means I will resent you for the opportunities I never pursued." Those answers do not settle the decision. They do something more important first. They reveal what the decision represents. When a change arrives, begin with 4 plain questions. What exactly changed? What must remain stable? What are we each afraid of losing? And which parts of this decision belong to both of us? Those questions sound simple, but they prevent a couple from arguing about 10 different problems at once.
For Maya and Jordan, the first answer is not just another state. It is a leadership opportunity, a shorter deadline, a new financial reality, and a possible distance from family. What must remain stable might include regular visits, transparent finances, shared responsibility, and the right for both people to speak honestly. What are they afraid of losing? Maya fears her growth. Jordan fears family connection and the reliability of the promise. Which parts belong to both of them? The move, the budget, the caregiving plan, and the timeline for deciding.
Then separate what is reversible from what is permanent. They might test the relocation for 6 months. They might calculate travel costs, compare housing, and speak with family before making promises. They might agree on a review date. A reversible experiment is not avoidance. It is a way to replace fear-based guessing with information. But it must be a real agreement, not a trick where one person secretly expects the experiment to become permanent.
Shared ownership does not mean both people have identical feelings. Jordan can dislike the move and still take Maya's opportunity seriously. Maya can value her career and still take Jordan's family responsibility seriously. Shared ownership means neither person announces the answer and then labels the other person difficult for having consequences to consider. It also means concern is not the same as veto power. Both people are responsible for telling the truth about the life they can actually live.
What happens when couples do not have this conversation? Usually, the damage starts small. One person makes a sacrifice that was never clearly acknowledged. The other assumes the issue is settled. 6 months later, a disagreement about money is carrying the weight of that sacrifice. A question about visiting family sounds like an accusation. A request for reassurance sounds like control. The original problem may have been manageable, but the emotional debt has been collecting interest.
Eventually, one partner feels managed, while the other feels unsupported. One says, "I am the only one protecting this relationship." The other says, "I am the only one willing to live honestly." They can become lonely while sitting in the same room, not because nobody cares, but because every conversation has turned into a case to win. That is the hidden cost of rigidity. Change does not disappear. It returns as resentment, withdrawal, and secret scorekeeping.
The favorable forecast is not instant agreement. It is curiosity. I hate this option, you might say, but I want to understand why it matters to you. That sentence changes the room. So does, "I am disappointed, but I am still here." Or, "I need stability, and I am willing to explore a different route if we protect what stability means to me." These are not magic phrases. They are evidence that the relationship can hold discomfort without turning discomfort into punishment. Look for behavior, not just beautiful intentions. Does your partner ask questions before making assumptions? Do they tell you the real cost of a decision? Do they make room for your disappointment without punishing you for having it? When a compromise fails, can they repair instead of keeping score? Can you do those things for them as well? Adaptability is not a personality label. It is a repeated practice of learning, adjusting, and returning to the relationship with honesty.
Imagine Maya and Jordan choosing a 6-month trial with specific protections. They agree on a travel budget. They schedule visits. They decide how caregiving responsibilities will be handled. Maya does not pretend the move is painless. Jordan does not pretend the old plan was sacred in every detail. They check in after 1 month, then 3, then 6. Maybe they discover the move works. Maybe they discover it does not. Either way, they have gathered truth together instead of forcing one person to surrender in silence.
And sometimes the honest result is that the relationship cannot absorb the change. Differences about children, fidelity, safety, or a core life direction may not be communication problems waiting for a better sentence. You can listen carefully, speak kindly, and still find that the futures do not align. That is painful. It is also useful information. Compatibility is not proven by how long two people can postpone an unavoidable decision. Here's something you can do today. Take a page and make 2 lists. On one side, write 3 core values you need protected in a relationship. On the other, write 3 preferences you would enjoy but could explore. Be honest with yourself. A core value might be emotional safety, shared responsibility, or staying connected to family. A preference might be a particular city, a certain timeline, or a specific lifestyle. Then ask your partner to make the same lists. Compare them without trying to win.
The goal is not to prove that your list is more important. The goal is to discover where there is room to adapt and where pretending will create harm. Ask each other, what would protecting this value look like in real life? Ask, which preference are we treating like a moral rule? And ask, protecting a version of the future that no longer fits either of you.
I can relate to the wish for certainty. Certainty feels like protection, but a promise is not always a frozen picture of the future. Sometimes the deeper promise is, we will tell the truth. We will make important decisions together. We will protect each other's dignity while we learn what comes next. That kind of promise can survive a new job, a new city, a changed timeline, or a season neither person expected.
So, the adaptability forecast is not asking whether your relationship can avoid change. It is asking whether both of you can meet change with consent, curiosity, shared ownership, and respect for essential needs. Healthy flexibility does not demand that you disappear. Healthy stability does not demand that your partner stop growing. And communication cannot turn every difference into compatibility. Sometimes the clearest act of love is telling the truth about what each person can and cannot build.
I would love to hear your thoughts. When plans change in your relationship, do you move toward each other, move away, or start defending the original agreement? What remains non-negotiable, and what might be a preference worth exploring? If you are dating, ask these questions before a major commitment. If you are already committed, ask them before resentment answers for you. You deserve to know whether your relationship has room for growth without requiring either person to become smaller.
For more tools and guidance around compatibility, future alignment, emotional patterns, and commitment readiness, visit cupidslogic.com. Cupid's Logic is designed to help you stop guessing and start seeing the patterns that shape a relationship's long-term potential. Explore predictive relationship intelligence and use it to ask better questions before uncertainty becomes resentment. Thanks for listening to Cupid's Logic. Remember, you're not bad at relationships. You've been flying blind.
This has been Cupid's Logic. Stop flying blind in love. Visit cupidslogic.com and let the Prism engine reveal what your relationship data already knows.